Hi, and welcome to Role Model Arcade. Here's our quick tutorial and a quick run through on changing our buttons and what they look like, what parts are in them, and basically a nice simple way to show you how, with one of our machines, or it could be another one, how to change your buttons yourself without having to call somebody out to do the work for you. Now, buttons in our machines, pretty similar to most, nice and simple, and they're made up of a few parts. So, first of all, if we pop this off, so turn it slightly, we've got our bulb holder, our bulb, because ours are LED buttons, and our switch at the back there. Now, if something simple needs changing, such as the bulb, it's as simple as pop it out, pick up a new bulb, pop it back in. If it's a switch that needs changing, again, nice and simple, this blue and black part here, give it a bit of a pry and pop it off, it'll hinge forward, and that's our switch. Then obviously our bulb holder's left there. The other parts of our buttons, and these are the ones that very rarely need replacing. We've got our nut and our spacer on the back, which just quick turn, and those are both off. And we've got our button itself. So nice and simple. All the parts in our buttons on our machines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice and simple. And the bits that are likely to go wrong are these two here. And that's our bulb and our switch, and they're just from wear and tear. Now our machines are designed to be really simple to work on, really simple to replace parts yourself. So if I show you very quickly, all we're going to need to take out one of our buttons is a screwdriver and a pair of pliers. If you have something similar to this, that will make life a bit easier, but we have it just to make things quicker. These are the only things needed. So first things first, front of our machines all have a nice cupboard. Pull it open, and then underneath, if we reach through, there is a latch on both left and right sides, which if we undo that, and then close our cupboard door, our front panel will fall forwards. And we can see absolutely everything on there that we might need to work on. If you want to make life even easier, we can take our screwdriver, and we can loosen the two screws, one either side, one on each hinge. And if we loosen those, and then we take out any wires connecting our control panel to the main machine, which is only two of them, we can then slide forward and lift out our entire control panel. Nice and simple. So there's our control panel, placed nicely on a big open workspace. We're not stuck in the back of the machine. We can see everything nice and clearly, and we can get to everything. Now for this next part, all we're going to do is we're going to show you from start to finish how to remove this entire button, but we'll point out throughout where we might only need to do a certain point depending on what part needs replacing. So if we have a look at our button as it usually is, and I'll just pop this back together nice and quick, and this is just how quick and easy they are to work on. We'll see there's the same parts as in our button in our machine. Now our prongs we've got the two on the top here. They will control the actual action of the button. So if we click the button, it's those two and the wires connected to them that does that action. And then we've got the two prongs at the side, which all they do is power our LED inside. So depending on what we need to do, we may not even need to take those prongs off at all. So first step, we want to remove our holder from the actual button. All we do, slight turn anti-clockwise, you'll feel it click and it pops out. Nice and simple. And now we've got our entire switch, our bulb holder and our bulb all easily accessible. If all I want to do is replace the bulb, as I mentioned before, we pop that out at the front, put it to one side, pick our new bulb, pop it back in. Now these are polarity sensitive, which means the bulb will only go one way. So if I put it in and find that the bulb hasn't lit up when I put it back in the machine, it's simply a case of turn it 180 degrees, pop it back in the other way. The easiest way to make sure that this is done straight away is if you look at the bulb, there is usually a thicker wire and a thinner wire. If we always look when we take our bulb out, check which side the thick wire was on and replace it with our new one in the same orientation. So that's nice and simple. If our switch is the part that's gone, so I'll leave our bulb to one side, then all we need to do is remove, as we say, the two cables that are connected to that switch. So they're responsible for the actual button's action. Now, I'm going to use a pair of pliers. You can do it with your fingers, but we're going to save the skin on the tips in case they are quite tight. So all we do, grab our pliers, pop it on the end of the spade, pull gently. Again, same with the other one, pop it on the end of the spade. This one needs a little bit more of a pull, but even so, still nice and simple. So that's those two off now. You can remove the switch now and pop a new one in without having to move any wires, but for the sake of this, I'm going to pull the other two wires off. So again, these two are responsible for the LED lighting up. And again, pliers on the end, pop them off nice and easy. Now our holder is completely removed. If we need to take our switch out to replace, again, gentle pull on it, pop it out. That's our holder. If we have a new switch to replace, we pop it back in, push it back down, we'll hear it click. And that's your new one replaced. If that's the point you're at, and there was that switch needed replacing, with our bulb back in, we just reconnect those wires exactly the same, but in reverse. Now, if that isn't the problem, and we need to remove our entire button, again, nice and simple, we can use one of these, which they're much easier, but they're not necessary, or we can just use a set of pliers. Now, all we do is we get our pliers round our nut, squeeze and turn anti-clockwise. And that should loosen it enough in 1 or 2 turns to then just use our hand. We can remove the rest of it by hand by twisting it, and there's our button out. So again, if that's where we're up to, we need to put a new button in, put that one to one side, pick a replacement one, pop it back in, pop our spacer and our nut back on, tying it up. Now, with this one, this is one that has coin written on the front, so I'm just going to check that I've got it lined nice and straight first, tighten it by hand, and then for the last bit, hold the front of the button just to make sure it doesn't twist, and just gently tighten it with our pliers or with our tool here. And either will work fine, but these are a little bit easier to use. So that's tightened back up again. Now, get my switch. This is my brand new one for if that's what I need to do, or it can be the original one if it was just the button itself that needed replacing. I get the switch, pop it in. You'll see there's a little groove, a little channel for it to sit in. Now, if we get that in there, push it down and slightly turn it clockwise. Now that button is in, that switch is in, the hold is in, everything's back in, and all that's left to do is connect up our wires. Now, our wires for the button itself, for the actual action of the button, you will always have one black one, which is your ground. You can put that on this one here, and then we're going to find our actual cable that we popped off that is specific to that button, and we're going to pop that on the top. Now, these are difficult to get the wrong way around because the spades are different sizes. So the two that I've just put on are 4.8mm, for those who want to know, and the two that I'm going to put on next for the light is actually 6.3. So it doesn't matter if you mix up the wires, you don't know which one's which, because they will only fit on once. Now, if I go back to my actual bulb itself, the wires I'm going to use to power that, again, the way we wire them up is black wires will always go on the black side of the switch, and red wires will go on the other side. Sometimes the switch will be blue, sometimes it'll be red. It depends on which manufacturer they come from. Now, that's all back together, nice and simple, ready to put back in our machine. Now, to pop it back in our machine, it's the same, but in reverse. All we do is we take it, lift it up, and go and slide it back onto our hinges. If you do struggle with this, we can always try loosening our screw a little bit more just to give us a bit more wiggle room, but it should be fairly straightforward. We get our screwdriver, and then all we're going to do, tighten up our screws, so one either side, just making sure that we haven't caught any wires anywhere as we're doing it. And then all we're going to do is get our two cables that we need to plug back into our box. Our one that is for power and the LEDs, just pop it back in there. Then our other, which is our harness for the actual controls themselves. And then nice and simple, we're all wired back up and ready to go. We can close our panel, open the front door, and then just get our latches back in place. 1, 2, and that's us done. All back to normal, all back to where we want it to be. So hopefully that's made a nice, simple tutorial on how to change the buttons, not only on our machines, but on a lot of others. Obviously, our control panels on all of our size machines, so this is our 24-inch, this is our 32, they're all exactly the same. They all will fall forwards, they all have 2 screws to undo, and then the principle of changing the button is exactly the same in all of them. If you're working on a different machine that isn't ours and you want to change the button, obviously this tutorial will also work for you as well, because once you've got the control panel off your machine and onto a bench, or once you've got your head in the machine, for those who are unfortunate enough to have to get their hands right in there to be able to get to it, everything from that point onwards should be the same for any button, or at least any illuminated button with a separate micro switch on the top. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that's helped a lot of you, and hopefully it'll make your machine last and last for years to come into the future.